Earlier, we could really see the advantages of styles because you would essentially create a style, like redefining an HTML tag, and anytime that tag was used within the document, it would automatically appear the way that you specified within the properties section of the CSS designer. Well, we can take that a step further. At this point, all of our content is essentially placed within this one document, and it's placed within the style element. These are considered embedded styles. You'll notice that there's another document called tips2.html, which is the exact same document, and it's available in the Chapter 3 folder. But what if we wanted this file to look exactly like the first file that we were working on? Well, you don't have to recreate all the styles or copy and paste the styles from this document to the other document. Rather, what you want to do is place all of your styles within an external style sheet file and then attach that style sheet file to this document. So how can you do that? Well, it's pretty easy, in fact. What you can do is come over to the CSS designer here inside the tips page, and we're going to go ahead and create a new source. If you click the plus sign, you can go ahead and choose Create a New CSS File. When you do that, you can go ahead and give the file a name. In this case, what we want to do is make sure we're placing this within our local root folders. So we're going to place this within the Chapter 3 folder specifically. And we're going to go ahead and call this Styles. It's going to automatically get the extension .css, but you can go ahead and add it as well if you feel more comfortable with adding the extension. Go ahead and click Save. Once you click Save, we have two options. We can link to this new external style sheet file, or we can import the styles. We don't really want to use the import option because we'll ultimately get the same effect that we have now, which is embedded styles within the style tag. So we're going to leave Add As set to link. Now there are some conditional usage options here when dealing with media queries. We don't really want to worry about that right now. Go ahead and click OK. Once you click OK, you'll notice we have styles.css. So how do we move the styles that we set up here inside this document into this newly set up style sheet file? Well, the process is pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit more room here. We don't have too many selectors, but I'm going to go ahead and select H1, hold down the Shift key, and select this descendant selector. Then you can click and drag the selectors on top of styles.css. When you let go of the mouse, nothing really changes except your selectors go away when you have the style element selected. Now, if you come over and choose styles.css, you'll see that these styles are located inside this external style sheet file. And you can verify that by coming over to styles.css, and you should see all the same content that we were seeing earlier within the style tag inside this new external document. If you come back to the source code and scroll all the way up towards the top, you'll notice that we no longer have any content within the style element. It's essentially blank. You could delete it. You'll also notice that a new tag has been created called link, which points to styles.css. It's essentially telling the browser that this is a style sheet file. So that's great. We have all of these styles in an external document, but how does that help tips2.html? Well, it helps by coming over to the Sources section of the CSS Designer, clicking the plus sign, and choosing Attach Existing CSS File. When you do that, you can go ahead and browse for the file. Remember, it's inside the Chapter 3 folder. You should be able to find styles.css. Go ahead and click Open. Once you click Open, we want to add as a link. Go ahead and click OK, and instantly the document is updated. Now again, this can be incredibly helpful. If we come over and select H1 and decide that we want to change something like the color of the text to green, we see that updated here, but we also see it updated in tips.html. So it's updated in both places. Again, making this not only very efficient, but it promotes consistency across multiple pages. The last thing that I'll point out that's not all that important for you to know right now, you can change the order of these selectors as well. If we come over to styles.css, we can see the exact placement of all of these selectors. Now, they're basically showing up based upon the way that we created them. When you create a new selector, the default is to add it to the end of the page. But if you select something, you can always change the order. Or if you have a selector selected and you click the plus sign, you're essentially telling Dreamweaver where to place this selector within your code. If you ever need to move it, for example, maybe you want all of your classes up towards the top, you can simply click and drag to change the stacking order of these selectors, and you'll notice that the code is instantly updated. Now, this doesn't have a tremendous impact on the CSS that we've written so far, but as your code gets more and more complicated, believe it or not, the order in which these selectors appear can play a role in terms of how your content will actually be rendered within the web browser. But nevertheless, this movie at least shows you by placing your content in an external style sheet file, you have the ability to control multiple documents from that one style sheet file.